Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Tough one in the Dome yesterday. Philadelphia 15, New Orleans 12. Saints fall to 2-1. Philadelphia moves to 2-1. This is another game I could really tell two different tales on. I could tell you the Saints should have won this game. Like, they had their opportunities at home, block a punt, got a chance to go ahead. They had their chances, and they didn't capitalize on them. I could also tell you the Saints should have gotten run out of their building yesterday, and that wouldn't be too far off either. But you did have a chance, and you weren't able to come through and get the win. Clearly a huge, huge deal. First drive, couple snaps into the game, and Eric McCoy goes down. And that is unequivocally your best offensive lineman. Like, Taliesin Fuaga is a great talent. He's looked very, very good at left tackle as a first-year player. But you look at the other guys on that line. Patrick, Penning, Ruiz, and McCoy is the linchpin there. He is clearly the best player. And so when you move Patrick and you bring in Udo and you've got a remade offensive line without the best piece of that, Philly exposed that a little bit. And what did we say last week about the main reason the Saints were having the success they were having offensively? Not Derek Carr. It's not Chris Olave. The main reason the Saints were having the success they were having is they were running the football at an elite level. They ran it for 180 in the opener against Carolina and 190 on Dallas. Well, they turned around in this game, and they tried. They handed the ball to Alvin Kamara 26 times. They tried to run the ball, but they did so at 3.1 yards per carry. Kamara finished with 26 carries for 87 yards. There was no running room available against that Philly defensive front, and when that happens, you got problems, because I don't trust Derek Carr to go out there and win it. He's perfectly functional when you give him a good running game and a solid offensive line, and you stay ahead of the chains and you ask him to make reasonable throws. He's good. You get him behind the change, you take the running game away, you allow the Eagles to rush the passer, and at that point, he's in trouble, and he was. And that last pick he throws to ice it was kind of vintage Derek Carr. He looks a little gun-shy, a little hesitant, little happy feet, makes a bad throw too early, and it gets picked off. But I thought midway through the third quarter, the Saints were going to win that game. When they're down 3-0 and you block that punt, that's a situation where you have to take control of the game at that point. And the Saints were completely unable to do that. You get the block punt, you take the football, you got it at the 27-yard line, you run Kamara for 3, then you run Kamara for 6, then you don't have Taysom Hill, so it's 3rd and 1 at the 18-yard line, and you direct snap it to Kamara, and he can't get there. So now you've got a decision to make. It's 3-0 game. You've got the ball at the 18-yard line. That's a 35-yard kick. Blake Grupe's going to make that, draw even, but NFL coaches have determined they're not interested in field goals. They want to go for it. The NFL has gone nuts on this, and we'll talk about last night's game as well, because I thought Atlanta lost the game because they were unwilling to kick short field goals. Well, in this instance, the Saints decided to go for it, and you try to run Kamara left tackle, and Philly blows it up, and he didn't even get close. Did not even get close. Bond was back there, and that was your spot at the end of the third quarter, first play of the fourth quarter, to draw even in the game, and you were unable to do it. And, of course, what happens immediately following that is 4 plays later, Saquon Barkley goes 65 yards, and you're in big trouble. So, bummer there for sure. I thought Dennis Allen could have taken points and didn't do it, and Philly made you pay for it. I'm not terrified. The Saints have lost all their mojo. I still think they're a good team. I still think Philly's a pretty good team, and you played them pretty well heads up in terms of the score. Sirianni gave you some help by not taking points early, and they forced one and threw an interception in the red zone. And, Philly did some things very poorly. I thought Nick Sirianni did a terrible job yesterday.
He was so bad.
He was awful.
Going for it at the end of the first half there was such a terrible decision.
Yeah, just bad all the way around. That situation there, they had gone on a 15-play drive. Yeah, I got my notes there. 78 yards, and it churned the ball all the way down to the 15 and decided to go for it, which was ridiculous. But the Saints made the play. And that's another example of NFL coaches who are just allergic to field goals for some reason. They've determined that 3 points is a failure, which is ridiculous. But I don't think the Saints are toast. And I don't think the league adjusted to the Saints and now nothing good can come from it. I think you need your best offensive lineman back, which helps you at two places. Because not only did you weaken yourself at center when McCoy went out, but you weakened yourself at guard when Patrick, who had been your second highest rated Pro Football Focus offensive lineman, he came out, and you put Udo in. Well, now you're weak at two different places, and you still got Penning over there at right tackle, which isn't exactly an all-pro. So that's just, we knew the offensive line was going to be a concern. It shouldn't be a total and complete shock that Philly punched him in the mouth with two reserves in there when you count Patrick as a reserve at center. That shouldn't be a shock. They do have to figure that out, though. They need to go in, and you didn't have time to plan for that. Like, you had to play an entire game without that in the plans. At least if he gets hurt on Tuesday at practice, you can start working on some things and take some things out of the game plan here or there. You're 3 plays in. They're like, all right, man, full new game plan because you don't have your best offensive lineman. Credit New Orleans and credit Clint Kubiak, and the score helped him do this because it stayed close. Credit him for staying committed to running the ball, even though it wasn't working. Because if you would have just abandoned that and left Carr back there, I think it would have gotten worse. They tried and tried and tried. It just never quite clicked, and they weren't able to put anything on the board.
Yeah, just a couple of things on the game. I think missing Taysom Hill is such a big, like we talked about before the game. It's just he does so many things, and he causes so many problems when he's on the field on offense. The defense has to account for him on every single play that he's on the field because you don't know if he's going to touch the ball, and I think that affected the run game a lot. But also, the Eagles, I think, showed other teams how you can maybe stop the Saints on offense, and that is they put 6 guys down, a lot of times 6 down the line, 6 or 7 guys in the box, and they dared the Saints to run or dared the Saints to throw, and a lot of times they ran the ball against these big boxes, and they couldn't stand up to it. So, like I agree with you though. I don't think that this just shows the Saints offense isn't actually that good. I still think they're going to have good games, but if teams do this and the Saints can't adjust, that was the biggest thing too. I would have hoped to see some adjustments on the offense in the second half. Just didn't really see that. But overall, I'm not too worried about it.
No, look, this was always going to happen. They were going to see some adjustments, and now the course of the season is how do you fix it? And they got to get healthy, but I think they'll be okay when they get Hill and McCoy back, assuming that's pretty quickly. Obviously, the big play of the game was Goddard with the long catch and run for 61 yards down inside the Saints 5 that set up the touchdown that won the game. And that's just great design on that crossing route. I thought it was great execution by Goddard and the other Eagle wide receiver, and they intentionally kind of ran at each other, and Saints 2-car pile up, and there goes Goddard out the backside.
It was a good design, but also with the defense in the second half, Devontae Smith went down, and they had no receivers. Goddard was the only guy he was hurting you all game.
Yeah,
but he was the only guy to worry about. I was like, so to me, it's a question of, okay, why aren't we bracketing Dallas Goedert? If he's killing us the whole game, he's the only guy out there that can hurt you. They don't have any receivers. All that Devontae Smith's out, and Brown is not even playing. So that was a bit head scratching for me.
Yeah, and they had him in man, and it just they run that crosser and they ran into each other, and then nobody's going to be there to cover anybody at that point. I thought the Saints were resilient. I thought they played hard. I thought they played tough. I thought they were opportunistic. Obviously, you talk about the 4th down stops, and then Tyron's big pick that thwarted another opportunity for the Eagles to score some points. There's still some really good things, and I personally think that even though no A.J. Brown, even though no Devontae Smith in the second half, you held Philly to 15 points. It's not like you were a disaster on defense. So that's the pillar. That is the linchpin of this team. We can talk about the offense all we want and how awesome they've been for 2 weeks. Now they're scoring 40 a game and running the ball like crazy, and Carr's been as efficient as anybody in the league. But this team is going to be good it's going to be division championship good because the defense shows up every week.
Yeah, and
that
special
is the
teams.
identity of the team.
Yeah, special teams and defense. I mean, I said this.
JT Gray is a stud.
After the first game when the Saints scored all those points in the opener, I mentioned, I was like, this isn't going to continue, and we see it in this game. It didn't continue, but the defense and the special teams are always going to be there. You're always going to be able to trust them and know that they're going to play well, and that's going to keep the Saints in games. It kept them in this game. The Eagles had twice the amount of total yards the Saints had, and they still only lost by 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a weird game. I could I mean, if you're in Philly, if you're listening to Philly talk show radio today,
they're probably saying we
dominated the Saints, went on the road, just absolutely outgained them, and Sirianni's an idiot. It's probably what they're saying on Philly.
Which isn't too far off.
No, but if you're down here in New Orleans and you're analyzing from a Saints perspective, like, you're 2 plays away from winning that game. If you don't let Goddard get loose on that one, or if you punch in a touchdown after the blocked field goal, like 2 plays here or there, and it's a completely different ball game. But that's the story in the NFL, and you're going to play a lot of close games, and you need to win more than you don't. Saints have won 2 blowouts and then come up short in a close one against Philly. A lot of Philly fans in the Dome. That's New Orleans' a destination trip. The thought process by some of my friends that were there, they thought that maybe some Saints fans had sold their tickets to this game before the season when they didn't think the Saints were going to be very good. Maybe they could get some real money from Philly fans coming down. So I don't know, but there were a lot of Philly fans in the Dome for sure, and they were making their presence heard, and Philly gets out of there with a 15-12 win over the New Orleans Saints. So Saints will regroup, and they will pack it up, and they've got a road game coming up at Atlanta, who we saw last night. And just inexplicable stuff from Raheem Morris to not take field goals. But they lost. So Saints and Falcons both coming off a loss. They'll play at noon on Sunday on Fox. If you're looking for Saints coverage, you can always find it, Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Also, LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson, our Saints beat writer for LouisianaSports.net, has a piece up on the homepage right now talking about the Eagles and the defense and what they took away from the Saints. He's got a real good analysis of the Saints running game and why it wasn't very effective. So if you want to check that out, highly invite you to do so on LouisianaSports.net. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.